What's going on, YouTube? It's Shawnee Boy here. We're back in this lovely weather, and today I'm going to be talking about diaphragmatic hypertrophy and now how developing your diaphragm and your intercostal breathing muscles will actually contribute to your overall aesthetic hypertrophy, muscular endurance, and health and well-being and brain functioning. Now, unfortunately, nowadays many people have dysfunction in breathing. They breathe vertically through the mouth and through the chest and shoulders rather than horizontally through the diaphragm, the intercostal muscles, and expanding through the transverse abdominis. And now this dysfunction breathing has led to many people having anxiety disorders, depression, poor muscular endurance and work capacity, and this whole dysfunction process, it worsens oxygen delivery throughout the muscles and your different autonomic nervous systems, and it also worsens out your overall vitality and cardiorespiratory fitness. And now with proper ones, obviously you could develop your physique in those intercostal muscles that people rip off on a side chest. That will obviously improve if you're a bodybuilder, but you also have better muscular and endurance and cardio performance just because you're able to take in more oxygen and use more oxygen going long distance, or even using oxygen on high rep work on certain lifts that you may be engaging in. And you also may be way more centered as a being in general because your parasympathetic nervous system is also more active. We got the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Parasympathetic one is more calm state, and then the sympathetic one is more fight or flight mode when you're constantly on the go, like you're on a motorcycle, you're in fight or flight. You're in the gym about to rip off some deadlifts, fight or flight. But when you're relaxing, drinking some mate in a backyard in nature, that's going to be more sympathetic, of course. And now with functional breathing, you're able to be engage in that sympathetic states more, which is amazing for recovery and vitality and muscle gains. Now, in order to develop those, and also when you actually are breathing the right way, you'll be able to brace properly on certain exercises as well, such as deadlifts or squats, when you actually have to really engage your transverse abdominis and your whole diaphragm to make that brace around to keep that spine safe when you have such an heavy axial load about to, put your body to work. You got to be safe and keep that spine protected at all costs. So making sure you know how to control that transverse abdominis and intercostal muscles when breathing is crucial. So in order to develop those, you should obviously practice doing some breath work, like putting your hands right on the side, taking strong inhales and exhales. So first, I want you to blow out all the air as you possibly can until you could literally feel your obliques and core at your side. Blow out all that air. Once you're done, I want you to expand horizontally until you feel your whole waist coming out horizontally. Even some cues people use is breathing through your back, because the transverse abdominis is 360, It's like it's the lowermost portion of the abs, but it centers around your whole body and waist. That's why it protects the spine when you're doing deadlifts or squats. So I highly recommend you just do a couple rounds of those every day, but to failure. You take that huge exhale, blow out all the air until you feel those obliques just contracting until it's hurting, and then you exhale, but try to slow it out, make it go over a long period of time to really expand your breathing range of motion, which is an actual thing. There is a such thing as breath range of motion and center of activity. So you could grab a ruler and you could measure this range of motion by, first you have to measure what your waist is at on an inhale, a complete inhale, and then also on an exhale. So then you subtract the exhale from the inhale and you get a certain number. Once you have that certain number, you divide it by your exhale number. Exhale, waste, whatever you do when you exhale. So then you have that number you got divided by the exhale gives you another number. And then once you get that final number, you times that by 1,000, and that's your range of motion. And ideally, you want to be above 100% if you really want to be quoted as maximal breath aficionado. But I'm saying if you're in that 80 to 100, anywhere from that 80 to 100, you're in the Goldilocks zone. Many people you're going to find are below 70 or between 50 to 70, which is very unfortunate. And some people are even below 50 because they don't even engage in exercise, which is a shame because the dopamine and endorphin effects are life-changing. So you have your range of motion. You could improve that by engaging that exercise every day by doing inhale and then exhaling. And you keep on going back and forth till failure until it starts to feel pain. And then you'll notice the next day that your auxiliary breathing muscles are sore. Now, other ways to improve your breathing muscles include doing the dumbbell pullover with a dumbbell on straight on a flat bench, or you can do it across a bench and mimic your back in almost like an arch to where you're really expanding your rib cage. So we have one straight across the flat bench and one in the middle of the flat bench where your back is in the middle, your hips are on the ground where your back is kind of like a cage, and you're really expanding your rib cage and those breathing muscles. And if you could do a vacuum, try to do other exercises include an ab wheel rollout, which improves those auxiliary breathing muscles, serratus, even chest and lats a little bit, but it really focuses on that core stability and engagement. And you can do that with your knees on the ground or even feet above ground if you want to really challenge yourself. And doing high rep work on that is pretty good, as long as you could build up your rep range on that. Of course, it's not easy, but making sure to focus your breath on that is really important, and it really could help expand the rib cage and improve thoracic mobility. I also say you could do pullovers with a band, and then you could attach an easy bar around the band while doing it on a bench, so you could challenge yourself in the concentric, not just the eccentric of the lift, but the concentric, so that band really could challenge you and bring about certain developments in the rib cage that you can't get otherwise. So I'd recommend experimenting with that. And to do the vacuum, I highly recommend waking up early in the morning on a fasted stomach, or not waking up early, but just doing it early in the morning on a fasted stomach. Right when you get out of bed, go in the mirror, you blow out all that air, and you kind of pop out your rib cage naturally. It's a neuromuscular mind-muscle connection that you have to develop. And once you get it, and you just have to practice it and do sets of it a couple a day if you want, or you could do them on your rest days to when you're not focused on going to the gym. Of course, recovery is key. You can't grow if you can't recover. So getting down that vacuum pose will also improve your neurological muscular connection with those breathing muscles, which will help develop your breathing range of motion and also improve your diaphragmatic hypertrophy, which is what we want to build up our muscular work capacity and muscular hypertrophy, which will help show off that classic physique with those serratus development, which often goes under neglected. I will also say that breathing and breath work during swimming is an essential form of exercise that will develop those intercostal muscles and fully develop the rib cage, which will help with your improvements in breathing musculature, but also your physique as well, due to the rib cage expansion because of the constant tension on those breathing muscles and serratus, and on the lats and chest as well, and shoulders. You get really jacked by swimming, but also really focus on your breath and become really functionally strong and muscular through swimming. So that's honestly my favorite form of cardio because of its ability to build that muscle, but also really improve your diaphragmatic breathing. So you cannot neglect your swimming if you really want to improve that diaphragmatic hypertrophy, baby. So now, if you want to really maximize those diaphragmatic hypertrophy, making sure to incorporate these exercises and do the other breath work. You could do even box breathing if you want, or even some forms of meditation will also focus on your breath. Really activate those parasympathetic nervous system to really calm yourself down at times, which will improve your recovery, your work capacity, your muscular hypertrophy, muscular endurance, fiber type accumulation, and overall better vitality in life. So making sure to develop those muscles, you won't regret it. Shiny Boy out. Peace.